Good morning and welcome to the Morning Scoop for Thursday, October 1st. This is your daily Buckeye fix. I'm Tom Orr. Now that it's October, that means the Buckeyes will play their first game this month. The first football Saturday of the Big Ten season is 23 days away, and the game against Michigan kicks off in 72 days. In addition to the new month, we have a new guest this morning. Stephanie Odie is the newest member of the Buckeye Scoop team. If you're in Central Ohio, you probably know her from her work on ABC6 and Fox 28. Steph, first of all, welcome to the team. For others who may
Yay.
not know you, let everyone know a little bit about your background covering sports.
Yeah, so I am a Columbus native. I grew up in Ohio and I went to Miami University in Oxford. I didn't go to Ohio State. I felt like that would have been high school all over again. But I do feel like I'm a Buckeye. And after college, I moved to Dallas. I got the opportunity to work with the Dallas Mavericks, do some sideline reporting for Fox Sports Southwest, had a season in Chicago before returning back to Columbus, and I've been getting into podcasting lately and letting people know I've covered a lot more than Ohio State, but you guys know I can't stay away from it. So that's why I'm excited to be joining you guys and doing some more Buckeye coverage.
And you are very active on social media, all sorts of different platforms on social media. Let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, I'm at Steph Odie, Otey is my last name, and no one can pronounce it. Steph Odie, Stephotey.
And that's Twitter and YouTube and all of the places, right?
Yep, just about everywhere.
All right. And what can people expect to see from you at Buckeye Scoop this fall? What are you working on?
Yeah, so I'll be doing some writing, some podcasts. We have some fun ideas about doing some debating type shows like Stephen A type material, and I get to be the moderator of that. And that's an idea that we're thinking about doing. And of course, interviews is my bread and butter. I'll be talking with the coaches and players and everyone that is around the Buckeye beat. I'll be getting some interviews with and talking Buckeye football. Excited.
All right. So who's going to be the Skip Bayless on staff if we're doing debate shows?
Yeah, so the guy in California was one, and then the mythical person. I was wondering if we would be doing Zoom calls, but I guess his person is anonymous. So
Mm,
I don't know
mm,
who it is, but that's who Kirk wants to have this debate with, which would be
mm.
fun. But I don't know the character of the other guy. He doesn't do videos,
Yeah,
so
Nevada. Yeah, Nevada does not do videos. Doesn't use his real name. He is a little bit of a mythical superhero in the Ohio State media realm.
we have a
Um,
couple of those.
yes, we do. We, we've got a little bit of every little something for everyone on BuckeyeScoop.com.
And Green was also on board for that,
Yeah,
so it'll be fun.
awesome. Well, yesterday was a big day for the Buckeyes and the rest of the Big Ten as they started their padded practices. I talked to Kirk Barton quite a bit about that on yesterday morning show about what that meant and why that was kind of a big deal. You can kind of go back and listen to yesterday's show if you want to hear some more detail on that. But I mean, sort of in the big picture, that was just a big hurdle that had to get over to clear before they could really start ramping up for the season. They, according to Ohio State spokesman, told us they did not do any actual hitting. They were just sort of starting to get acclimated to pads again. But Steph, this is one of those things that a month ago people were saying, "Oh, this is impossible. They can't do that. They can't do padded practices." That was August. They were talking about that, and now it's happening. I mean, this is definitely another very good sign for this season.
Oh yeah, definitely. And especially when it comes to pads for linemen in particular, that is so important to be able to get the pads on and just move around in them. It definitely changes the play for you. So they were in that stay ready mindset. The culture at Ohio State is so strong and they had the belief, but to see it actually happen and to experience putting on pads is a big deal for these guys. They get the butterflies and it's an exciting time to really have the feeling that, hey, football's back. And so it was a big day for them. And, they you weren't there was no contact, but just getting in the gear and getting back into the rhythm is a huge step forward for them.
Yeah, that was something we talked to Brian Hartland and some of the wide receivers on Tuesday this week, and yeah, that was very much there was a very clear level of excitement from all of those guys that I mean they called it like real football. That they've been kind of out there sort of doing stuff and some 7-on-7 stuff, but I mean Brian Hartland said like this is actual real football to where you can do some hitting and you can do a lot, like you said, a lot more of that line work, and it actually feels like you're starting to get ready for a game. Like I think this might be the week that it really starts to feel real for that team.
Oh yeah. And I've heard Coach Meyer say, they need 6 to 8 weeks to get ready. Like I said, they did stay ready, but this is a milestone. It changes their preparation. And so, yeah, they can get serious now. They were working on fundamentals, but now they're putting into practice. And so that is definitely going to help them down the road. But this is crucial in their preparation for that first game against Nebraska.
There was some interesting news yesterday on players who had opted out at a few other Big Ten schools I wanted to kind of run down. First was Micah Parsons, the outstanding linebacker for Penn State. James Franklin confirmed on Wednesday he would not be playing this fall. Micah Parsons is officially out for this fall. Franklin said that was something that had conversations about him maybe returning, but ultimately it just wasn't going to happen. And all of a sudden, Steph, that week 2 game at Happy Valley, I mean, it's still not a gimme for the Buckeyes, but between Parsons and no crowd, I mean, that sure feels like it's a little bit of a less daunting trip than it might have felt earlier in the year.
Oh, yeah. The Nittany Lions are probably not happy about that. It changed the game for them, but I think it also speaks to the culture at Ohio State. Justin Fields said he was never going to consider leaving as a Heisman contender and someone who's completely bought into the program, changed his preparation in the offseason, became vegan. Like, his commitment was just on another level. And to have the players who already opted out return to Ohio State, it just speaks to the brotherhood and the coaching staff, and everyone in that building is completely on board and they want to play for each other. Is that the case for these other schools? Probably not. Everyone wants to play for Ohio State, and it's clearly shown why when it came to this offseason and what took place from the family members to staff to the athletic director to the president. Everyone around Ohio State was there for each other, that they had their heart set on playing, and that's what they're going to do. Other schools haven't quite shown that, other than Nebraska, our new buddy who we have to go up against now. But yeah, when you look at these other programs, it doesn't seem as strong as it does at Columbus.
Well, another guy who talked about this week about why he came back was Chris Olave. He obviously didn't have the choice to opt out and skip, turn pro early last spring. He had to have another year before he could enter the 2021 NFL draft. He was asked, though, would you have, if there was no season this year, would you have turned pro after this year? He said no. Like, very.
That does not surprise me.
Yeah. Directly.
That locker room after the Clemson game, he was the image that is instilled in my brain, and his head completely down. Oh, that was a hard sight to see. I mean, it was a sad locker room, but him in particular was very affected by it, and I can definitely imagine him wanting to get that opportunity back. I'm not surprised at all that Chris Olave, of all people, would want to return because of that redemption that he wants.
Yeah, he said he did not want his career to end on that play and that game against Clemson, and he's going to be a very interesting story this year. Ryan Day said right after the Fiesta Bowl, when we talked to him, probably like signing day, Ryan Day talked about the fact that Chris Olave literally didn't eat for a couple days after the game. That's how upset he was. And
oh, yeah.
Olave said he's still carrying that with him a little bit right now, that he's trying to channel it into a productive way and kind of have a chip on his shoulder and be a little bit more motivated. But he's still, I think, carrying some of that game with him. And boy, the Chris Olave against Clemson story, if there's an Ohio State Clemson game this year, that's going to be a real fun story to follow as we kind of progress through the season.
Oh, definitely. And just the way the past several months have been, it's been an emotional roller coaster. To add on the last game he played, if that were to be the last game he played, especially in his collegiate career, that would be awful. And so, the highs and lows of, okay, they put out the schedule and then they took it back. And then, all this talk, the protests, it has been a whirlwind, but they're coming out on top. They are just, I think Ohio State has shown that they can always overcome anything off the field. But when you combine everything that they've gone through since that game, man, they are a strong unit mentally and physically.
Well, from Chris Olave to another very talented Big Ten wide receiver, Minnesota's Rashod Bateman. He also officially opted back in on Wednesday. That's real interesting because the Gophers play Michigan week 1. And while Bateman is back, it looks like Michigan wide receiver Nico Collins, and perhaps more importantly for this conversation, corner Ambry Thomas likely not going to be playing this fall. And Steph, that Michigan defensive backfield is going to be very, very young, and matching up with Rashod Bateman right off the bat seems like that could be a bad start to the season for Michigan.
Yeah, you're taking experience against not much experience. It's definitely going to expose who's prepared and the limited amount of preparation you could put in. I mean, it's going to be very interesting, but I think it'll be very telling, and we'll see the maturity in those young guys and see how they can perform in a situation like that. It's not going to be easy, but I think we saw that in the past few games that have been played in college football. There's been some things that were exposed and some, surprising twists and turns, especially in Oklahoma. So I think it's almost, maybe it's an advantage that we get a little bit of a later start so we can learn from the games that are being played, what's working, what's not when it came to that. But having this extra month, we know the Buckeyes were always in the right mindset. So we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah, it's been interesting to see that there are teams that come out and are a little bit kind of all over the place, and then there's just Alabama just comes out and just is crushing people, and Clemson comes out and is just crushing people. So it seems like the sort of the strong culture programs are doing just fine right now, and some of the others where it's you got new guys, maybe it's not quite as established a culture. Those programs have been a little more wobbly in some of these games.
Yeah, the team that, I've been talking about when Ohio State's not playing is Florida. I talked to my friend who works in Gainesville and covers the Gators, covers SEC, and they have 16 starters returning. They have camaraderie and continuity in their coaching staff returning back for a couple years together now, inexperienced quarterback. So I think Florida is a team that I would be looking out for when it comes to teams that came out looking pretty good.
Yeah, and Georgia didn't look too intimidating in the first half of that game against Arkansas either. So that the path to the SEC East Championship might not be quite as daunting as it seemed a week or two ago. Well, Steph,
Yeah.
thank you for joining us, and we are very excited to have you on the Buckeye Scoop team. You can read more from Steph as she starts writing and podcasting and YouTubing and all of the good things for us at BuckeyeScoop.com. We have an incredible team there that is just continuing to grow as we get closer and closer to the season. We're like 3 weeks away from the start of the season. So this would
It's
be
crazy.
this would be a real good time to join BuckeyeScoop.com. Lots of really interesting insight and analysis, as well as in-depth recruiting coverage you just can't find anywhere else. That's all at BuckeyeScoop.com. And also make sure you check out all of our great podcasts as well. You can find those on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud. Just search Buckeye Scoop to find all of those. You can subscribe right there. And also please leave us a 5-star rating and review while you're there. Thank you guys for listening. Have a great day. We will talk to you tomorrow.